Hey everyone, welcome to Late Night Podcast, where we dive into some of the most fascinating and thought-provoking ideas. I'm Alvaran, and my co-host Alvarez is joining me.
Hey everyone, we've got really exciting episode lined up for you today. We're joined by some brilliant minds, two philosophy majors who are going to help us break down ethical frameworks and how they shape our decisions. Please welcome Dr. Ampiloquio and Mr. Almadin.
Hey everyone! Super excited to dive into these topics and explore the way different ethical frameworks guide our thinking.
Yeah, it's always fun to unpack these theories and connect them to real world issues. Can't wait to get started.
Absolutely. We're talking about these ethical frameworks like utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. It plays a huge role in our everyday decision, even when we don't realize it.
Exactly. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's explore the world of ethics and decision making with our amazing guests.
So stay tuned because we have a special guest by the end of the podcast. So let's get started. So before we jump into the various ethical framework, let's clarify two key terms, ethics and morality. While they are often used interchangeably, there is subtle difference. Morality refers to the principle that individuals or societies hold about what is right or wrong. These are often shaped by culture, religion, and personal beliefs.
Exactly. On the other hand, ethics refers to the systematic study of those moral principles. It's the way we analyze and evaluate moral choices, often with the help of philosophical theories. Ethics help us not just ask what should I do, but also why should I do it?
And that's where ethical framework comes in because they offer us structured ways to make those decisions. So why do we need these ethical frameworks, especially when making decisions? These frameworks serve as structured guides for us when we're faced with tough moral choices. Instead of relying solely on gut feelings or cultural norms, an ethical framework provides a logical approach to determine what actions are morally right or wrong.
And in fields like technology, where decisions can affect millions of people, these frameworks become even more critical. They help us navigate gray areas where the consequences aren't always clear, and different stakeholders may be impacted in conflicting ways. Ethical frameworks ensure that we consider multiple perspectives before arriving at a decision.
Now that we've established why they're important, let's take a look at some of the most common ethical frameworks used in decision making. So, some of the most widely used include virtue ethics, which emphasizes personal character and moral virtues. Utilitarianism, which focuses on outcomes and the greatest good for the greatest number. And the next is deontology, which is all about following moral duties or rules regardless of the outcome.
We'll also explore existential ethics, which emphasizes individual freedom and responsibility, particularly through the lens of Jean-Paul Sartre's philosophy. These frameworks, though different, all aim to help us make ethical decisions by providing structured ways to think through complex issues.
Yes, yes. So we have a topic here that is all about utilitarianism and deontology. And Vince, if you may ask the question to Dr. Ampiloquio,
In the age of artificial intelligence and big data, how do utilitarian and deontological principles influence the development of ethical algorithms and decision-making systems? And do they really influence its development?
Um, and my answer to that is yes. In the age of artificial intelligence and big data, utilitarianism and deontological principles can influence the development of ethical algorithms and decision-making systems. But before we get into the specifics, let's first define what utilitarianism and deontology are. Uli- Utilitarianism utilitarianism is a moral philosophy that holds that the moral right actions is the one that produces the greatest good for the greatest number. Deontology, on the other hand, is a moral philosophy that holds that the moral right actions is the one that is in accordance with one's duty. Now, let's see how utilitarianism and deontological principles can influence the development of ethical algorithms and decision-making systems.
So can you tell us what are the perspective of each of these theories, Doctor?
Okay. From the utilitarian perspective, ethical algorithms and decision-making systems should be designed to maximize overall happiness or well-being. This could mean, for example, that algorithms should be designed to allocate resources in a way that benefits the most people possible. From the deontological perspective, ethical algorithms and decision-making systems should be designed to respect individual rights and duties. This could mean, for example, that algorithms should be designed to avoid discriminating against individuals based on their race, gender, or other protected characteristics.
So, how do you conclude this topic, Doctor?
Uh, in my conclusion, both utilitarianism and deontological principles can play a role in the development of ethical algorithms and decision-making systems. It is important to consider both perspectives when designing the systems.
Thank you, Mr. Ampiloquio. Next, we have a fascinating topic lined up. Existential ethics, freedom and responsibility in Sartre philosophy, but with a twist. We'll be discussing how it relates to the world of IT and to help us navigate this complex terrain. So we have Mr. Almadin. Hello again.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Let's dive straight in. Jean-Paul Sartre is famous for his idea that we are condemned to be free, that with total freedom comes total responsibility. Could you explain how Sartre viewed freedom and responsibility?
Sure. For Sartre, freedom means that we are always free to choose, but that freedom is a double-edged sword. There is no pre-existing blueprint for how to live or what values to follow. We must create our own meaning in life, and that means taking full responsibility for our choices. He emphasized that we are responsible not only for our own actions, but also for what those actions say about humanity in general.
That's deep. That's deep. Now, how does this relate to the IT world?
Ah, good question. In IT, people have a lot of freedom too. Developers, companies, and even users can choose how to create and use technology. But with that freedom comes responsibility. For example, when someone builds an AI system, they need to think about the ethical issues, like making sure it's not biased or protecting users' privacy. Searcha would say that every tech decisions shapes the future, and the people making those decisions are responsible for the impact that they have.
So you're saying IT professionals can't avoid the responsibility for what they create?
Exactly. Just like Sartre believed that there are no external moral authorities to guide us, there's no avoiding the ethical consequences of the systems we build in IT, whether it's deciding how data should be collected and used, or how algorithms influence people's lives. The responsibility falls squarely on the shoulders of those who create them. Every line of code, every design decision contributes to a digital reality that reflects human values.
That makes sense. So does this philosophy suggest that IT professionals should focus more on authenticity in their work?
Yes, authenticity is key in existentialism. In the context of IT, being authentic means taking ownership of your own work and its impact. It's about being transparent and honest about the limitations of technology and the potential harms it could cause. It's easy to just follow industry standards or trends, but existential ethics pushes us to ask deeper questions about how our work affects the freedom and well-being of others.
This is really profound. To wrap up, what's one takeaway for IT professionals from Sartre's philosophy?
Um, I think that I think the most important takeaway is that with great technological power comes great ethical responsibility. Sartre would argue that as we innovate and expand human freedom through technology, we must also own up to the responsibility that comes with it. Each choice we make in IT reflects the values we are endorsing, not just for ourselves, but for society at large.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jabez. You've given us a lot to think about. Freedom and responsibility. Hmm. Two sides of the same coin, even in IT.
Exactly. Thanks for having me.
All right. Now for our last question. We have a special guest this evening. Let us welcome Mr. Clyde.
Thank you for having me today. So, what is the question that you would like to ask me?
So our question is, in a world where automation and artificial intelligence are becoming more integral to our lives, we're seeing tech companies play a major role in shaping not just products, but society itself. So, Mr. Angeles, how can Aristotle's and Confucius' virtue ethics guide tech companies and developers in behaving ethically?
That's a fantastic question, Mr. Alvaran. Let's start with Aristotle. His focus is on the idea of eudaimonia or flourishing, which he believed people could achieve through cultivating virtues, good character traits like wisdom, temperance, and justice. For tech companies, this would mean not just chasing profits or efficiency, but striving for a balance that supports human well being. Aristotle's golden mean, his concept of finding middle ground between extremes, can guide developers to create products that balance innovation with responsibility. For instance, an AI-powered social media platform needs to balance user engagement with the well-being of those users, avoiding extremes like fostering addiction or ignoring harmful behavior online. Aristotle's ethics encourage developers and tech leaders to ask themselves, is this tool or system contributing to a society where individuals can flourish? Am I using my expertise and innovation in a way that enhances life? Or am I creating systems that ultimately harm or diminish it? That focus on balance and human flourishing is key.
So it's about creating technologies that help people live better lives, not just faster or more efficient ones. That makes sense. How does Confucius take on virtue play into this? Would he offer something similar?
Absolutely. Confucius had a very different cultural background, but his virtue ethics are equally relevant in guiding ethical behavior in tech. His philosophy emphasizes Ren, benevolence or humanness, and Li, proper behavior with social relationships. For Confucius, it's not just about the individual, it's about how your actions affect others and maintain harmony within society. In today's context, tech companies could take Ren as a guiding principle, ensuring that their technologies are used in ways that are benevolent and humane. This means prioritizing empathy and compassion, especially in areas like AI that affect jobs, privacy, or justice systems. For example, facial recognition technology could be used for security, but it also raises concerns about privacy and potential misuse. A Confucian approach would urge developers to ask, how will this affect individuals' dignity? Will it disrupt social harmony or contribute to it? Technology should serve society, not control it. And that's at the heart of Confucius' thinking. He would likely argue that maintaining social harmony and fostering trust should be central goals for developers.
So we're talking about technology that not only works well, but works for people, helping to maintain or even improve societal harmony. But how practical is this? Are these ancient ideas really something that tech companies can apply today?
It's definitely challenging, especially when you're dealing with global tech companies that have a lot of different pressures. like competition, innovation, and profit margins. But Aristotle and Confucius offer guiding principles. Even in today's tech world, Aristotle's focus on balance, his golden mean, can encourage companies to be mindful of extreme outcomes like privacy violations or the mental health effects of certain algorithms. Confucius' emphasis on relational ethics can remind developers that the technologies they create will affect real people with real lives. Tech companies can strive to act with empathy and foster trust whether they're building a new AI tool or designing a user interface. At the end of the day, these ancient ideas challenge companies and developers to be more reflective about their impact on society. They might not provide strict rules, but they encourage a mindset that prioritizes human well being and societal harmony, which can definitely inform the ethical design of technology.
Thank you, Mr. Clyde, for those insightful thoughts. It's clear that while technology is constantly evolving, the philosophical principles from thinkers like Aristotle and Confucius remain profoundly relevant. As we navigate this digital age, it's crucial for tech companies to reflect on their societal impact and strive for a balance that promotes human well being. As we wrap up today's discussion, let's remember that ethical frameworks are not just abstract concepts. They can serve as practical guides in our tech driven world. We hope this conversation sparks further reflection on how we can all contribute to a more harmonious society through technology. Thank you to our guests and listeners for joining us on this journey into the intersection of ethics and technology. Until next time, stay curious and engaged.